Hello everyone. I thought I'd do something a little different today and show you some old DOS programs that I used to use back in the 80s. And I haven't pre-rehearsed this, so some of the files I'm going to look through may be a surprise to me as well. But anyway, what I've done is load up DRDOS 6.0 inside a VMware virtual machine. And it's installed inside this virtual hard drive. And I've also copied up some files, like I intend to install Windows 3.1 eventually, perhaps have some other versions of DOS installed as well. I do have QEMM loaded as my memory manager, and I believe it's version 9.0. In fact, one DOS command you can use is called mem, which tells you how much memory you have and how things are loaded. With DRDOS, most commands you can issue a slash and then a question mark, and it'll give you help as to what command you can use or what parameters you can pass to a given executable. So here with the mem command, for example, we can see what's loaded in conventional memory by doing the /b flag. You can see this is pretty horrendous, the amount of memory I have right now. The CWS DPMI program is hogging up 44K, and some other just miscellaneous environment stuff is loaded as well. But what we're going to do is go into my utility directory where I have all my files, and some of these actually won't run on DOS. I've kind of mixed in some old Windows 3.1 or Windows 95 files as well. But we'll just go through some of the list here and see what we can play with. Alright, so we have disk opt. So this was a disk optimizer. Let's go ahead and select the hard drive. And what this will do is go through and defragment files on here. And we don't have enough memory, probably because my conventional memory is so horrendous. Not sure if I can unload this after having it loaded already. Oh, well, that hogged up even more. Let's see if we can disable that. So we're going to edit the autoexec.bat file, and there's the program that's running that's hogging up some memory. So get rid of that. Normally QEMM does a good job with loading everything into expanded or extended memory, but for some reason it's not working well with what I have set up here. So I'm going to go ahead and restart this virtual machine. Okay, so now I have 550 kilobytes. Let's see if that's enough. No, okay, well, we'll move on to something else. Everybody's familiar with zip compression. Well, one of the first ones was called Pkzip, and it was created by a company called Pkzip. So this is version 2.04G, and if there's anybody out there that used to use BBSs or bulletin board systems, you know that this program was all over the place. Almost all uploads to BBSs were saved in zip format. So you can compress files into a single file, and we're going to go ahead and give that a shot. So with this -A command, it looks like we can add files. So let's just make a temporary directory here. And we will do pkzip -A. We're going to save that into the one directory and we'll call it myzip. And let's just do all executables that's in this current directory. You'll notice it detected the 46 CPU. That was a big deal back then. 46 had a math coprocessor which really sped things up. It also allowed multitasking and multiple threads to run at a given time for certain operating systems that could use that capability. Some files are compressing fairly well. You can see if the percentage is higher that it is compressing it to a smaller size. One interesting thing to note with DOS is the file name convention was called what's called 8.3. You could have 8 characters maximum for the prefix of the file name and only 3 characters on the suffix. So you'll notice some of these file names have a tilde or a tilde and a 1. The reason is because that file was actually having a longer name in the file system, but DOS is unable to view the whole file name. So it shortcuts it and puts a tilde 1 there. If there were more than one file with a file name longer than what it can handle, it would put 2, 3, etc. Okay, so let's go ahead and change into the one directory and take a look. So there's our zip file, and looks like it is taking up about 20 megabytes of space. So that was just something to play around with. We're going to go ahead and delete it. Go back to our parent directory, remove the one directory. Okay, what else we got here? Okay, I have this old Hex editor I used to use called, I believe it's Hex Edit. Yeah, there it is. It was a shareware. Shareware, of course, was a big thing in the 80s. Basically what it meant was the software was free, but you were encouraged to purchase it, almost like on a donation basis. Also, sometimes when you'd purchase a version, the full version would have more features. So the shareware version was sometimes crippled. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Richard E. Morris's product here. So we can press F3 to open a file. Let's just go ahead and examine itself. So you can see, and this is how almost all hex editors work. On the left side, it shows the hexadecimal address, and the middle shows the hexadecimal values for each character. DOS used ASCII character tables, so hexadecimal will be from 00 up to FF, which represents 256 characters. On the right side, it actually shows you the ASCII representation. So here I'm hovering over the capital C, and if I highlighted it, you'll see it's the number 43 in hexadecimal. Anyway, hex editors can be very powerful. You can use them to modify things that you can't normally modify. Like you can't use a normal text editor to just open up an executable and make a change on the inside, because it'll corrupt it, because it's designed to edit text, and there's all kinds of hidden characters and special characters not representable by a text editor. Hex Editor, on the other hand, allows you to modify any kind of binary data and change the characters inside. Alright, so now I got to figure out how to get out of this program. There we go. File, no, we do not want to save the changes because, as you can see, I accidentally typed some characters there which would have corrupted it. So that's a little Hex Editor fun. There was a compression program that I liked at the time called Slim, and it was basically a terminate and stay resident program. And what it would do was allow you to compress files, and you could do it individually and even set the compression level in each file. And if Slim was turned on, as soon as you tried to access that file, it would automatically decompress it. So let's give it a shot here. So we're going to turn Slim on. And that's probably hogging up some memory. Yeah, there we go. So let's do a test here. Let me look at the flags again here. Okay, so a compression level of 5 is default. I'm guessing a 9, that means higher compression. So let's go ahead and compress something here. We'll do Slim 9. How about we do Undelete? Okay, so that cut it down by 9%. So now if we hex edit undelete, okay, you can see it still looks like the normal executable. We see our MZ tag, which starts at the beginning of every executable, and you can see some of the text. Pkzip was a compression program which would compress executables. So you can see it decompressed automatically when I accessed it. So let me get out of here. Now I'm going to turn Slim off, and we're going to go back in and hex edit. Remember, I have not decompressed this file. And now you'll notice you're seeing the Slim compressed version. So it's basically inaccessible to me right now. So you just turn Slim back on and you can access it again. And here it is. Undelete allows you to actually undelete files that have been deleted through DRDOS. This is DRDOS version of undelete. And it says it can't recover any of those files. This one it can. And usually you can undelete a file only if its sectors haven't been overwritten on the hard drive by something else. We're going to see if we can undelete. That'd be kind of ironic. Please specify a new name. Okay. So we don't overwrite what we already have. It says it was recovered. And there it is. And what you'll notice is the reason why that file was deleted was because Slim compressed undelete. And when it did, it actually must have written a new file first and then deleted the original. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to undelete it because it would just modify the original. So we're going to go ahead and delete the original again. So now we only have our single executable, again, which is compressed with Slim. So now let's decompress it. What that means is now it's back to the original size, original format, original everything. And we can just turn Slim off and it'll work properly. Okay, what else can we take a look at here? I used to have this program called Where Is, which would search your hard drive for something. Let's search for Bard. How about that? Because of course we know we have the Bard's Tale on here. And it shows you as under Games. Now there is something really cool you can do with DOS, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with this or not, but You can redirect output to a file. So as you see when I type that command, it just basically dumps it to the console and you see it on the screen. I could do that same command and dump it to a text file. So I'm just going to, by using this little greater than symbol there, I'm just going to dump it to something called out.txt. You run it, it looks like nothing happened, but in fact it dumped all the contents in here. So now we have it saved. And you can do that with any program that writes to what's called standard output. So I'm going to get out of the DRDOS editor and go back, and you can see how cool that is. So I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, what else we got? Pkzip, let's go back and talk about that. So executables are generally pretty hard to compress just because they contain binary data and it's pretty random. There's not a lot of repeatable characters. Well, Pkzip was a way to compress these executables. Let me see if I can find one that maybe isn't compressed already. Let's try unace. Could not be compressed, okay. I've probably already compressed most of these. Yeah, that one was already compressed, at least it told me. And it gave a warning here that it contains overlays. Sometimes you run into problems if you compress overlays. Yeah, I probably don't really have much that's not compressed. I do have QEMM on here. Maybe there's some executables in here that I haven't compressed yet. Let's try optimize. There we go. So you can see that cut that down by quite a bit. Went from about 360K to 235K. Now we'll see if it still runs. Yes, it does. That was a big deal back then. Space was a huge issue. I mean, I remember having a 40 megabyte hard drive, and I thought that was a big deal. So, the more you could compress back then, the better. It was kind of a catch-22 though, because processors were obviously so slow. I think my CPU was 4.77 megahertz. Just ridiculous. I'm not saying gigahertz, I'm saying megahertz. So compression programs were pretty limited. You couldn't do arithmetic compression back then because it would just be ridiculously expensive. So most of them were dictionary type compression, like Pkzip. What else we got here? I think I have one. bat2com. I remember that one. Okay. This will actually turn a batch file into a command file. And if you don't know the difference, a batch file is a text viewable file that just allows DOS to execute commands. So I opened this one up called c.bat, and what it does is it just switches to the C drive, then it changes to the root directory, it clears the screen, and it does a directory listing. So I'll just run it to show you what it does. I'm going to type it right now. So that's what it did. Okay, so let's check it out and make sure we don't have a command file for it already. We don't. So let's try the bat2com on c.bat. And this was a utility that was free and created by Douglas Bowling from PC Magazine. Okay, so now we should have a file called c.com. There it is. Now look at the size difference here. The c.bat file is only 17 bytes. The c.com file is 389 bytes. If we open up c.com with the Hex Editor, you'll see there's all kinds of junk in here. But down toward the bottom, on the right side, you can see our commands, the C:, CD \. So this all above that is probably setting up the environment and allowing this to execute. Okay, so what happens when we run c.com? Same thing, as you can see, it just executed the batch file. That was kind of a nice way to make it where someone couldn't just go in and modify your batch file easily. They couldn't go in and just use a text editor, because if you try to use a text editor on a COM file, look what it looks like when I open it up. It's just garbage. And that's because of the limitation of text editors. So that's a nice protection for files, but only for amateurs that don't know how to use hex editors. Okay, what else we got? GRDOS came with a program. Actually, I don't think this is the GRDOS. No, it's not. This program called gcopy was made by Gordon Waite in 1984. And that's pretty old. That was before probably Xcopy came around, which is built into DOS. And gcopy, if I remember correctly, it allows you to actually select files. Let me see. Let's just make this. Do we still have our one directory? No. Okay, let's make it again. Gcopy, we'll just copy all COM files into the one directory. Yeah, here we go. So what you do is it shows you files and you can mark them in order to have them copied. So if we just want these to be copied, we'll select them. Files you're selected are about to be copied, yes. Okay, and it looks like it had an error. Well, that program failed, so we'll just move on. There's a cool program called vSafe by Central Point Software, and it is a terminate and stay resident, which means you can use a hotkey to fire it up, and it's running in the background. And it allows you to protect your hard drive. So the defaults are protecting from a low-level format. It'll check executable files before you run them to see if they contain a virus. So this was one of the first antivirus programs out there. And the antivirus code is actually inside the executable. So they actually embedded the signatures of the viruses inside here. It'll protect you from boot sector viruses. It'll protect your hard drive's boot sector. So if something tried to overwrite that, it'd protect it. And all kinds of things you can do. So what I'm going to do is enable the general write protect, and if I say 2 to make it resident, then it's going to be running while I issue commands. Okay, so now we're going to exit. So I have this one directory. Let's try to copy something there and see what happens. Let's copy unace. Look what happened. vSafe caught the fact that I was trying to write a file and asked me if I want to stop it, allow it to continue, or reboot. So if I say stop, then DOS has no clue as to why this happened, and it just says there's a write protect error. You want to abort, retry, or fail. So we'll say retry. Now I'll allow it to continue. And then it worked. Very useful program. So I'm going to go ahead and unload that. As you can see, if you do Alt-U, it unloads. And there we go. So now I can't issue that command anymore. What else we have? List. This was one of my favorite programs. It gives you a friendly view of different files, and you can kind of move around using your cursors. And it's a text editor, but it actually can display more characters than what you can normally see. Let me see if it shows anything with c.com. Yeah, see, remember, editor would not show the contents. Well, c.com, or I'm sorry, with list, you can see the contents of c.com. In there we can see our change directory, clear screen, and directory. Very useful program. Trying to look and see what else. We have write protect hard drive. So supposedly now our hard drive is write protected. Let's give that a shot. Sure enough, we can execute it again to turn it off. That's pretty nice. There's also, I believe, format protect. Let me see. Format protect hard drive. Okay, now, should we try it? Oh, QEMM won't allow us to execute format. So we'll terminate it. Format protect hard drive. Oh, it looks like the format protect hard drive is really hosed up QEMM. Look at that. Yeah, so QEMM is not compatible with format protect hard drive. So we're going to go ahead and reboot. That was interesting. I had never tried that before. Okay, so there's an example of a program that can't be run in DOS mode. So it was probably designed for Windows of some type. This was a good DOS program, Cross and its associated uncross. It allowed you to span files across diskettes or CDs or whatever at the time. So you could specify the exact size of a file you wanted and it would split it up. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. We're going to copy a file into the one directory. Let's grab that one there called Anywhere because it looks pretty big. And while I copy it, I'm actually going to rename it. I'm just going to call it Any. Oh, I just copied it to the same folder. So let's go ahead and move it into the folder of 1. Okay, so now what we're going to do is try cross. I got to look at the command again here. So we're going to force the output size. And this is in bytes. So let's say 5,000 bytes. The file name is going to be any.exe and the output path, let's just specify the current directory, which you can do with a dot in DOS. So as you can see, it's creating a whole bunch of files of 5,000 bytes in size. Oh wow, that's funny. I said 5,000, but it's actually 5,050. So that program's slightly flawed. But anyway, as you can see, there they are. Then you could, of course, use uncross to recover them into a single file. So go ahead and get rid of those. What else we have here? FD format. This was, I believe, yeah, for high capacity diskettes. It actually would allow you to format beyond what DOS would normally allow, which was pretty crazy. You could take a disk that would normally hold 1.44 megabytes, because a high density 3.5 inch, and maybe get 1.5 or maybe even up to 1.6 megabytes out of it. It was a big deal back then. Now it was a little dangerous because the files could end up getting corrupted toward the end there, but I had actually used it successfully for quite a while and was able to get an additional program or two on my floppy diskettes. Yeah, that's definitely not a DOS program. Procmon is one from sysinternals, which was taken over by Microsoft. Here we have warm boot, which should boot our computer up again. Let's see what happens. Sure enough, restarted DOS. I think there was actually a cold boot too. Yeah, there it is. I'm not sure what this is going to do. I may have to restart the virtual machine. Oh, wow, yeah. It did restart, but you'll notice VMware flickered there versus the warm boot not showing VMware. This was a Norton Utilities program, I believe, but it won't run. It's called Speed Disk. I do have some other utilities. I have some Norton ones on here. Before you think of Norton antivirus, they were in the tools or utility realm. Speed Disk won't run for some reason. Drive D, it can't read, so we'll abort that. Well, it's freaking out over the D drive for some reason. What else we got? Disk edit. So this is showing sectors and clusters. Allows you to take a look at the boot sector and boot record data. Lots of real fun geeky stuff here. Allows you to inspect the file system essentially. That's pretty sweet. I never used this at the time because I was too young and didn't understand the purpose of it, but looks like you can actually edit your file system. It's running in read-only mode right now, so I couldn't edit anything, but it sounded like you could enable that. Let's see if it can just show a given directory. Let's go into Ancient Art of War. Yeah, this is really cool. It's showing us where the files are, what cluster and sector. So what happens if I select one? Basically as a hex editor. And it's spanning the different sectors because files generally will span different sectors and clusters. Wow, that's really interesting. Fun. What other utilities do we have? Rescue. Probably allows you to make a rescue disk. FA, file attributes. Okay. For those that don't know what attributes mean, in DOS, it did not like the drdos attrib command. That really flipped out. Probably QEMM again. Let me go ahead and restart this operating system. But anyway, file attributes are things such as hidden, system, has it been archived, and normally when it works correctly you can see them on the file using the attrib command. It also allows you to change them. Well, it looks like this FA command does the same thing. Let me see if I can do a pause. Sometimes when you issue a command in DOS, if you put a /p at the end, it will pause and wait for you to press a key so that it doesn't just scroll off real quickly. So this looks like a friendlier view of the attrib program. It's telling us which files are read-only. Normally it would just have an R next to it. Okay, so let's see if FA will allow us to change that property. Yeah, there we go. It says follow the above switches with plus to set the attribute or a minus to clear the attribute. So let's go ahead and try -R. It's saying no files are found. Does it allow wildcards? Okay. I think I did that incorrectly. Let's do a /R minus. There we go. So it changed 44 files. So now when we look at them, you'll notice the read-only attribute is gone. So that would allow you to set the system one, hidden one, read-only, and archive. Those are the 4 default attributes supported by DOS. Okay, what else we have under Norton? Speaker. Oh, that's a SND file. Smart Scan. I must have spelled it wrong. Smart Can. Okay, this must be for... It's basically like a trash can. It was one of the first trash can programs. Let's see what happens when we enable it. Enable Smart Scan, okay. All files except those listed, so it's not going to do temp, swap, or INI files. Purge the files held for over 5 days. That's cool. We'll just go ahead and say OK. So we have it enabled, so let's see what happens now. Let me just copy a file so that I can delete it. Okay, now supposedly it has been saved somewhere. I'm not sure where. Let's see if SmartCan finds it. Not sure where it put the file. Maybe the SmartCan INI shows where it's at. Well, it shows nothing of the sort in there. That's very strange. Makes me wonder if it's not working or if it put it somewhere where I can't find it. Actually, it could be hidden too. Let me check on that. I don't see it. Let's see if there's any parameters. Search for and convert, erase, protect trash cans. Okay. Let's see what that does. There are none. Makes me wonder if this isn't even on. Let's try it again. It's saying that it's on. So let's copy and delete it. Do I see it yet? Still not seeing it. And it's not finding any trash cans. Okay, I must just not be using this right, unless it's not working. We'll just disable it. Okay, what else we have? FS file size. Okay, so that just dumps the file size. of given files. NCC Norton Control Center. Sweet! So we just changed our control to an ugly purplish color. Makes me wonder if you could change the background. Ooh, it's got borders too. Let's see how ugly we can make this. Yeah, that's nice and ugly. So I guess that border is probably for a window. Cursor size. Trying to get back to... Come on, get back to our menu. There we go. Palette colors. Video mode. Display lines. Whoa, okay. Let's flip that back. It's messed up my DOS. The VMware is confused now. So the window's actually smaller. So you're kind of seeing part of the outside of the VMware box. Let me see if when I reboot it I can get it to come back. There we go. Getting in all kinds of trouble. Keyboard speed for when you're holding down a character. Let's try that. So this is the default speed. Okay, let's see what we can change it to. 30 characters a second. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about. No mouse was found. Serial ports. No serial ports were found. Alright, that's kind of cool. What else we have? Inst DOS. Okay, so that's obviously not going to run here. Ncache 2. Norton Cache. Let's look at some of our DRDOS commands. Task max. Share must be enabled, okay. Let's run share. Use Control Escape to display the task max menu. Control number to switch between existing tasks. So here I brought up the menu. Let's create a new task by hitting the insert, and you can see it just flipped me over to a prompt. So now I should actually be able to run something. How about we go into utility and open up the editor of version. Now I'm going to try sweet. So I brought up the task max, and you can see that there's two tasks running. So if I flip back to command 1, boom, there I am. This is where I ran task max. Control escape, flip back to editor, boom. One of the first multitasking commands inside DOS. That's pretty sweet. Delete selected task, copy data, paste data. That's nice. So let's flip back to here, and then let's delete the editor. This is going to close it, kill it off. That's nice. Great program. Okay. DRDOS also had Superstore, which was a compression program that ran as part of the operating system. So it's similar to Slim, only as for a whole hard drive or a whole file system. It loaded when you booted your computer up. You could actually even do floppy drives. I remember that. That was pretty sweet. So do we want to do the C drive? No, because I have other intentions, and if I compress it with DR-DOS, I'm going to kind of be stuck. But it would allow you to compress the files transparently and get some good use out of it. Another command that DOS has is called type, and you just put in a file name. I'm going to do hard drive. No, it's not spelled that way. Hard drive. And then it shows the contents of the file. You can get yourself into some trouble using this though when the PC speaker is enabled, especially if you type something that doesn't have characters that can be displayed. Like, let's try an executable. Let's try this one. Oh, I need to go to that directory. Did you hear those beeps? If you do a large file, it can be quite annoying. And you have to wait for it too. You can't break the program using a Control-C while it's going. But it's just a quick way to be able to see the contents of a file. I think it's c.com, isn't it? Yeah. You'll notice again that when I tried to do the c.com file, it's not showing our change directory commands like the list program did. That list program I used all the time. It was fantastic. I wonder if I can see who made it. Vernon Berg, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, from California. If you're out there and you see this, kudos to you, man. This was a great program. Well, I think that's enough for now. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, let me know and I can do something like this again. Maybe show you some other programs. It's easier for me to do this because I'm just recording it live and I'm not editing this video. So feel free to give me some suggestions, or if there's any type of lesson you'd like, I'd be happy to give it to you. I'm very familiar with DOS and all kinds of different programs of that time. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.